Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode right here on Unmute Your Mic podcast with your favorite coach, Coach Lauren J. And you know, on this podcast, we talk about healing what success did not fix for high achievers. And I am so excited to be hopping into today's conversation and just kind of recapping what we talked about last week. And so this segment is called Behind the Mic. Okay. So I am so excited to get behind the mic with you, recap with you what we talked about on last week with Jeremy Watkins. You know, we have been doing this Redemptive Love series, and it has just been amazing. We've gotten so many reviews, messages about how this episode has just been healing relationships, healing people. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to y'all who let us know every week how these episodes are blessing your life. We are so grateful to do this work and just to do this work with all of you. And so we are so excited about it, and we're just so grateful. So I just want to make sure I just took a moment to just shout out those of you who've been rocking with the kid and who's just been on this journey with us and trusting us with your heart. So this episode today, we're getting behind the mic, and we're going to recap and talk about the last episode. And so last week's episode, You Are Safe with Me. Darling, listen. Okay. If I'm honest, that episode was one of the most vulnerable and most necessary conversations I have ever had on this mic. And it was so healing. Jeremy was obviously here with me in that episode, and we really unpacked and uncovered how we can create safe environments for people, but then also, you know, what does that really look like? What does safety really look like, right? What is safe versus protective? And so if you have not watched that last episode, you need to go back and listen to it, okay? If you have not listened to that episode, definitely go back and listen to that episode. But today, I want to just kind of slow it down, because if y'all are ever listening to Jeremy and I, baby, we be going back and forth. Sometimes that thing can be like a tennis match. Your head is going left, right, and about to just come off a whole swivel with some of the things that we say. I sit back and I listen to our episodes every week, and some weeks, child, I'm clutching pearls. I'm like, Lord, did we go there today? Like, oh my. But it's so good. But today I wanted to just really kind of slow it down and just sit with what we said and sit with you about what we said last week. And then also talk about how to help you apply it to your own healing process. So if something from that conversation stirred something in you, this is your space to sit with it on today. And we're going to let that work in you. So to unmute the mic in your own story, let's get into it. So let's start at the top. Why does safety still feel foreign? Most of us did not grow up in safe environments, whether that means emotionally, spiritually, relationally safe. Most of us did not grow up in a safe environment. We learned survival. We learned silence. We even learned how to adapt, protect, and endure. But what we didn't always learn was how to feel safe, especially not in love, especially not in God's presence, and especially not in our own bodies. And so last week's episode, Jeremy and I talked about how that shows up, how it shows up in our relationship, how it shows up even in our leadership. For those of us that are leading teams, leading people, leading homes, leading your life, right? The relationship we have with ourselves, and most importantly, in our faith journey. Because oftentimes you want connection, but you don't feel safe enough to let your guard down. And we talked about that last week. I was like, my Lord. We want connection, but what happens when we don't feel safe enough to let our guard down? Or maybe you're the person that's listening now and you want intimacy, but you keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Or maybe you want healing, but you're scared of what it will cost to actually be seen. That's what this episode exposed. It's the deep ache for safety and the walls we built to survive in its absence. And so let's talk about what happens when love wasn't safe. We're going to start with the first one that we didn't feel safe with, right? Love. So when the love you first experienced, or if the love you first experienced, as you think back to it, like what Betty Wright said, think back to your very first time, child. Some of y'all may have to think back a little longer than others, okay? But let's think about the first time you experienced love. Was love inconsistent? Was it conditional? Or was it abusive? However you first experienced love, it began to teach your nervous system to be on edge. And what you didn't see was it wiring your heart to expect abandonment. And for some of us, it convinced you that being vulnerable was dangerous. And so when your partner wants you to be vulnerable with them and share with them the things that are truly bothering you, it's almost as if you don't have the words to give them. And someone else may think that's crazy. But emotions have a love language. It has its own language. Love has its own language. And quite honestly, if you've never practiced learning the language of love, then a lot of times you may not have the language to give someone to help them understand where you sit and how you really see vulnerability and what that feels like for you. And here's the wildest part of all. You can be in healthy environments right now, but still be stuck in protection mode. Child. Oh, y'all. And I laugh with you because I've been her. If I'm vulnerable with you, I have been her more times than I would even desire to admit. Okay? Imagine praying for a love that feels safe, secure, and allows you to feel seen and significant, and then getting it and still being afraid to embrace it. That's what it looks like when we're still trying to adjust to this new healthy environment. Because most of us, if you grew up in unhealthy emotional environments where people, supported you, neglecting your own emotions, abandoning yourself, judging you, shaming you for not putting other people first, I promise you, when you're in a healthy environment, it is very uncomfortable. I am speaking from experience. It is very uncomfortable. And it's not because the other person isn't safe. It's because you're now, like, your nervous system is trying to adjust to what safe feels like. Like, you've romanticized about it in your mind, but in your mind and in reality, two different things. Those are two very different experiences. And one of the quotes that I want to share with you that it slapped me. So I know when stuff slaps me first, it's definitely going to hit you. Just because you're no longer in danger doesn't mean your body feels safe. I'm going to say that one more time. Just because you're no longer in danger, it doesn't mean that your body feels safe. So if you're the high functioning one, the responsive one, the overachiever who shows up and gets it done, this might be the part of you that no one sees. Because you're successful, but then you're also tense. You're loved, but guarded. You're present, but emotionally disconnected. And it's not because you're broken, but it's because love has not always felt safe. And so God allows us to come into relationship with Him, with ourselves and others to help us heal that part of us. And so I don't know who this is for. It may just be for me, but I'm going to share it. Don't be afraid to let someone love you. The first love that heals your hurt is the love that you create with God. It makes it easier to create it with other people because you've already created it with the one who created love. But if you're trying to create it with another person, what they're going to find is that they are not capable of healing what they didn't break in you. They're there to support you, walk beside you as you're healing, but they don't have the ability to just heal you. And I think sometimes that's what we expect from people because we can see them, we can touch them, like they're physically present with us. And so we expect them to fix what they didn't break. When truly they're just coming to get the manual and learn how to love you. But they can't read a manual you never wrote. They can't be trained to love you when you are not trained to love you. And so you have to sit with love first in order to gain training on what to expect, what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and to have very clear understanding of what it is that you need because the science of your happiness looks a lot different from everybody else's. And so if you haven't spent that time with Him, you're going to cut on people that were there to bless you because you don't know what you don't know. And so that leads me to this next conversation and my next point. There's a difference between protection and safety. And I want to clarify this in this episode because I think a lot of times I've heard, people on social media share, culture share, a woman wants to be protected. No, a woman doesn't want to be protected. She wants to know that she is safe. And let me tell you why there is a difference. And it's not just women. I see women post about this a lot, but it's not just women. Quiet as kept, like my friend says all the time, quiet as kept. Men don't look for a woman to protect them. They look to be safe with her. And women are actually looking for the same thing. So what am I telling you? Both of you want the same thing, but are you both capable of giving it? First, you have to understand what is the definition of protection versus safety. So let's get into that now that we've identified that they're not the same. Protection is reactive. It's about defense. It says, I can't trust you with this part of me. Think about it. For my football people, what does the defense do? They react to what the offense is doing, right? And they can't move off that line until offense moves off that line too. They have to almost move at the same time. And so they're reacting to what the other person is doing. That is not safety. They're trying to protect the quarterback. Or they're trying to get to the quarterback, depending on what side of this protective mechanism you're on. And that is what protection looks like. But safety is responsive, and it's built in trust. And it says, I can rest here. So when you're with your person, or you're even in friendships, it doesn't matter what ship you're in. I always tell you guys all the time, the word relationship, the ship means that whatever you are in relation with, it's going to take you somewhere. So when you're in relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's a partnership, do you feel like you can rest with that person around you? Or do you feel like you always got to be ready to react to whatever they say? Because if you find yourself always having to react, that means there's no rest. And that is your body's telling you, we are not safe here. And in order for someone to trust you, they have to first gift you with their vulnerability. So if a person is unwilling to gift you with their vulnerability, either they don't feel safe with you or they don't feel safe with themselves. But either way, there will be a disconnect. I want to share this other quote with you. Redemptive love makes room for your honesty and your healing at the same time. Ooh, I'm going to say that again. Redemptive love makes room for your honesty and your healing at the same time. That means you don't have to perform to belong. You don't have to filter your emotions to be accepted and try to act like you like things that you don't like or like things that you know you can't stand because you don't want the other person to reject you. You don't have to sanitize your pain for God to be present with you. Some of us feel like we got to clean up what we messed up before we start again. And God's like, no, I'll meet you in the mess. And see, that's how you know, well, this word is for somebody. It's not in my notes. That is how you know you're in the right relationship. When you're with somebody who says, I see the mess, let me help you clean it, not judging you for the mess and trying to figure out what you're going to do to clean it. That person at that point, they are not in partnership with you. When a dog makes a mess, for those of you that own pets, how many times have you seen your pet clean up their mess? They don't. They watch you clean it. They don't clean it. They don't clean up their own boo-boo. You clean it. They don't clean up their own urine. You clean it. So what am I telling you? Baby, you may just be with a companion. You just got a pet, not a partner. And that's a word for somebody. You may just have a pet, sis, sir, and not be in relationship with a partner. And that becomes a problem. Let's do the math on that. When you are with a pet that you thought was a partner, now you got a problem. And that's why you keep finding yourself in these relationships that continue to resemble the same toxic cycle you said you were tired of, because you're with a pet, not a partner. And that is your problem. And when we start expecting our pets to do things that only a partner can do, now you mad. They don't have nothing about them said they had capacity. But here you are expecting them to fix something that they don't have capacity to change. So I want you to know that you're safe here, even with your doubts. You want to be in relationships that you can bring your doubts, you can bring your story, you can bring the parts of you that you're still trying to heal and know that you're safe. That's why having that connection and that oneness with God first and healing you first is so critical, because until you get safe with you, being safe with others will never happen. If you're not safe with you, then what makes you think you're going to even think about or be open to being safe with someone else? You're not safe with you, and you with you every day, all day. And you mean to tell me you think you're going to be safe with somebody you see 2 or 3 times a week, a month, a year? And you're going to just vomit all your vulnerability to them? Absolutely not. And that is why your relationships do not look like your values. They look like your trauma. Because we're still loving people from a traumatic space. Because we haven't healed these parts of us yet. So let's talk about how to start creating safety, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking like, well, how do I even, where do I start? How do I make this look like an everyday practice for me? How can I make this an everyday practice for myself? Because healing is not just a feeling, it's truly a practice. It's also not a destination, it is a journey. So here are 3 things that I'm going to give you that you can start doing this week to create emotional and spiritual safety. So listen all the way in, child, because you don't want to miss this. Number 1, I want you to call out the lie that says you have to be on in order to be loved. I want you to call out the lie that says you have to be on to be loved. I want you to start noticing when you're performing or over-explaining this week. And I want you to start practicing in those moments saying that I'm not okay today and that's enough. And then I want you to take a few seconds to just let yourself be human. Because I think we're on this robotic train. We ask people all the time, oh, hey, how you doing? And we really don't care how they're doing. We just want to check the box and say we asked them how they were doing. But what if that person said, you know what, I'm not okay today, but that's enough for me right now. I'm okay with telling you that today, you know what, I'm really not at my best. What would you do if you were walking down the hall, headed to your office, and you said to somebody, oh, hey, how's your day going today? And they said, you know what, today's really not that great of a day for me. We're so trained, we'll probably just be like, oh, okay, and keep on walking. Why? Because you just was trying to check the box anyway. You weren't really trying to check in. You were trying to check the box. That's not the same thing. And because you do that to other people, the reason you do it to them is because you do it to you. You don't even check in with you and say, hey, girl, are you okay today? Hey, sir, are you okay today? So because we don't check in with us, we just check the box. We check the box for others too. So this week, I want you to be really mindful of that. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to make space for stillness. If chaos is all you've known, stillness will feel very uncomfortable, but it's necessary. So I want you to start with 5 minutes, whether it's top of the morning, midday, evening, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not gonna tell you what time of day, but I do want you to find 5 minutes in your day to sit with your emotions and let God meet you in the quiet. Meaning, don't talk. And just sit with it. Check in quietly with yourself. And then let God just meet you in the quietness of where you are. And then number 3, I want you to ask this question in some of what you believe are your safe relationships. And I want you to say, can I share something with you? Not for you to fix, but I just need a moment to be heard. Can I share something with you? Not for you to fix, but hold space. I just need to be heard. When you do this with someone that you feel safe with, you're teaching your nervous system that safe connections do exist. And by practicing this slowly, one moment at a time, it allows you to slow down. It even slows your heart rate down too. So you'll notice your body reacting to this movement, to this type of like lead in line of how you're positioning the conversation. And you also are allowing the other person to reposition themselves so they can just be able to hold space for you. Sometimes people got to shift their movement. Sometimes people have to turn their little critical thinking brain off just so they can just sit with you. And there are moments I do have friends who will call me and say, hey, I just need to vent, or I just need to share something. And in those moments, I just sit there quietly. And for those of you who struggle with, ad libs and cutting people off, put your phone on mute when people do that, especially if they're on the phone with you. Put your phone on mute so that way you don't do what you've always done, which is interject and want to share something. So if you know that you're one of those people who are sometimes unable to just sit with someone, put your phone on mute. That way, just in case you slip up, because you learn it too, the other person won't even know. This type of practice prepares you to not only be in safe relationships, but to have one actively with yourself and someone else. We were created for interdependence, not hyper independence and not codependence. So I want you to practice this week, and I want you to let me know. Follow me on social media at I am Coach Lauren J on Instagram, Lauren Jackson on Facebook, Lauren Jackson on LinkedIn. Follow me, DM me, and I want to know, how did that feel to you this week? Or you can always email me, hello@coachlaurenj.com. That is my personal email address, hello@coachlaurenj.com. And I read my emails and I do reply. But I do want to hear this week, how did that feel for you? How did it feel this week to be safe, to be heard, and to be gentle and slow moving with yourself? If last week's episode revealed anything to me, it was this. You were never created to live in survival mode. You were created for safety, for peace, and for redemptive love. And even if you've never felt that in human form, God offers it first. So I want to end this episode out by reminding you you're safe here. Not because everything is perfect, but you're perfect. God calls us perfect. But because perfect love casts out fear. And if you're not safe anywhere else, I want you to know that you are always safe right here with us, with your Unmute Your Mic family. So I will encourage you that even if you listened last week to the podcast, go back and re-listen to it now. Share it with someone. I promise you it was worth every single minute that Jeremy and I invested our time and energy and focus into recording. And if this reflection helped you, follow the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Apple, if you're on Castbox, come on, somebody. Follow us wherever you are listening and leave a review to help others find their way back to safety too. That's how we get the message out. That's how we get the word out. That's how we get in front of other high achievers just like ourselves that are needing a safe space to just be themselves. So, thank you for listening to Behind the Mic. I will see you next time. And I cannot wait to hear this week how this episode, this recap, this Behind the Mic moment has blessed you. And don't forget, you're safe here with me on purpose. I've got you.